The story continued as, Wu Yu requested the sect leader for a favor, and Feng Shuya allowed him to speak. Wu Yu told him, Sun Wukong is like a father to me. I want to bury him and stand his stand watch. Please allow me to stay for 7 days. Feng Shuya permitted it. Just like that, Wu Yu returned to Yanli Mountain with Su Yanli, under the murderous stares of Situ Minglang and the rest. In the clouds, on the back of Immortal Crane, Su Yanli was whipped by turbulence, as Wu Yu called her. Su Yanli turned to look at him. Wu Yu thanked her from his heart. Volumes of gratitude were condensed in those 2 words. She reminded Wu Yu of her sister Princess Wu Wu. Su Yanli exhorted and replied to Wu Yu, No need, but you must strive hard. Otherwise, I won't be able to protect your life in a year's time. Situ Minglang will not let you go. His future is too bright. But Wu Yu was confident in himself. So he calmly, I will remember your advice and will strive hard to reach greater heights in a year's time. To Wu Yu, it was already heaven's intervention that had allowed him to live today, let alone be given a year. He was not afraid. He had confidence in himself to walk his path well. Upon returning to Yanli Mountain, Wu Yu buried Sun Wukong at the exact spot where Sun Wukong had once helped Wu Yu at. On the grave written, Here lies Sun Wukong. Although the difference in their age was huge, Wu Yu still looked upon him as a father. Wu Yu knelt for 7 days and 7 nights. After Wu Yu left, Sun Wukong's grave shimmered with golden light. A golden hair floated out from the grave. It was not human hair, more like a beast's. The hair flew higher and higher until it was lost in the darkness. It seemed like a vague impression of a wrinkled, smiling face appeared. The smiling face on the grave gradually faded, until it was pitch black after saying in this world, there are only you and me left of his legacy. The next day on Reflection Peak, inside the tower, Wu Yu was completely sealed with chains. The room was 10 feet long. There was not enough space to stand. The Jindan Immortal and Su Yanli stood outside the room. Sect leader Feng Shuya spoke to Wu Yu saying, In a year's time, if you can beat Situ Minglang, I will accept you as my 5th disciple. Even if you have not condensed your qi. Wu Yu was reeling. He was so moved. Back then, he had prematurely called him master. Who would have thought that his dream would come true today? Su Yanli smiled slightly and told Wu Yu to see him in a year. Su Yanli was ranked 4th in sect leader's disciple, so Wu Yu was happy to become the 5th one. The door of the sealed room shut. After leaving Wu Yu, Feng Shuya brought Su Yanli along with him and said from the front, Yanli, you were right. The transformation that Wu Yu gained was even better than we had imagined. But his nature is not bad. I am willing to be his guide and shelter him. Furthermore, he takes relationships seriously, indeed a good man. Su Yanli said in a low voice to his master, Master, you must be feeling pressure as the disciples of Sect Protector in these years are getting stronger and stronger. Feng Shuya gave a cold smile saying, That woman, I know not where she comes from, but she is not worthy of my attention yet. Some days later, on heaven's lament clouds raced across the sky, and the eyes stretched out for 1,000 li. A servant's voice rang out in the skies saying someone succeeded in condensing their qi, and they further said, It must be Situ Minglang who have ascended. Immediately, the Bipal mountain range was in an uproar. Someone important had descended on heaven's lament. It was a woman dressed in blue. She was the sect protector, Lan Huayun, also a Jindan immortal. The secretary protector's voice rang through the Bipal mountain range, announcing and telling Situ Minglang, From this day forth, you are my 5th disciple. Minglang thanked her. On heaven's lament, Situ Minglang had awaited this moment for too long. Seeing the sect protector supporting him, his eyes burned thinking about the day when he will be able to take revenge on Wu Yu. Each year on August 15th, the Dong Yuwu kingdom hold a celebration for their ancestors. Capital Wu was still as majestic as ever. On this day, it was livelier than ever. In front of the ancestral plaques, the new Dong Yuwu emperor, Yuan Hao, as well as Express Dowager Yuan Shi, and other influential figures made an appearance. Yuan Hao was in a dragon robe. His eyes shone with ambition and hunger. Empress Dowager was even more striking. And not far behind was Princess Wu Wu, whose good name was known far and wide. Thousands of commoners looked on in admiration and respect at these noble figures. Emperor Yuanhao was offering incense to the royal ancestors and spoke up, "Thanks to the heavenly emperor, thanks to the martyrs of our dynasty. Today, Yuanhao thanks the ancestors, may the Dong Wu kingdom live forever." Many commoners hailed praise. One of them said, "So this is Emperor Yuanhao. He really looks impressive." In the corner, a man in tattered clothes gave a cold laugh saying, "This is called impressive. Looks like a little wuss. You have never seen Prince Wu. That is a real hero, one who raised the country. This Yuanhao is not even worth one of his hairs. Back during the chaos, Wu slayed all the enemies. And this Yuanhao does not even dare to kill a chicken." From beside, a matron had heard his mutterings and said, "You dare to say something like this? That's blasphemous." The tattered man replied, "So what if I dare to speak up? Yuanhao is trash, and the Empress Dowager, wherever she emerged from, she is a cheap woman." Obviously, they set up Prince Wu along with immortal Hao Tian to take over the kingdom. What is the commotion? Yuan Shi's painted red mouth was set with discontent. The years had not yet left any marks on her body. A servant rushed over and said, "Empress, someone is causing a fuss and Prince Wu was mentioned." She smiled coldly, saying, "Take him and dismember him with 5 horses and announce to the kingdom whoever mentions Prince Wu again will have their family line erased." The servant desperately spoke up saying, "Empress, today is a festival. Will such bloodshed not anger the ancestors?" Yuan Shi laughed lightly and ordered him to take them out of the capital and then dismember them. At this moment, Emperor Yuanhao had finished giving thanks to the ancestors and walked over. After settling down, he spoke up saying, "Sister Wu, do you know in the eastern island, a bunch of people have emerged to untie all islands and established a nation?" Wu replied saying, "I have heard about it, they are a bunch of thieves and that is all." Yuanhao smiled slightly saying, "Don't say that. Since they have established a nation, then they are with us, and we need their aid to expand our nations. They are willing to form an alliance with us." Princess Wu replied, "It is a national affair and does not concern me, so His Highness need not inform me of this." Empress Dowager laughed again saying, "It does concern you. Yuanhao said the East Nation Emperor wishes to take you as his wife and unite 2 nations through marriage." Princess Wu upon hearing it said in a frosty tone, "That murderous king, thug, who will stop at no evil." Yuan said while smiling, "Exactly. It is said the East Nation Emperor is strong in the martial way." He thought that Princess Wu had been cowed. At this moment, Princess Wu smiles and said, "Very good. Marry my corpse to this evil king to make your alliance." She stared at Yuanhao and said, "Alliances with tigers and wolves will be the downfall of the nation. Yuanhao, you are a failure as an emperor." Having said that, Princess Wu rose and left without a backward glance. Yuanhao trembled with fury. He raged and said, "That wench cannot even see the situation. I will make her pay for it." But Yuan Shi, while consoling Yuanhao, said, "Don't worry, I have many ways to make that stubborn marriage docilely." Yuanhao gave a cold smile, agreeing with her mother. In the Heavenly Sword sect, the Reflection Peak sealed room was completely sealed. One ate, drank, and excreted all within the place. A year's time did not daunt Wu, because to him, it was a time when no one could disturb him. He could concentrate on cultivating, and it was a chance for him to charge to an even higher level. This year, he had to expand his horizons and compose his heart. Wu was sitting in a lotus position and cultivating diligently over many days to master Invincible Vajra Body's 6th tier. The Invincible Vajra Body's 6th tier is called Full Body Golden Crystal Meridians. Once mastered, the entire body of meridians will be torn apart. The body will become like an expansive, starry sky. The meridians will be like the stars but burn like the sun. The road of martial cultivation was one of persistence in the face of dryness. And in this sealed room, Wu adhered to the lore of full-body golden crystal meridians and evoked the power of the ground and fire, and then through them they became golden crystal meridians and heated his body until it was as hot as a meteor. A body had hundreds of meridian points. They were numerous and the fire from the ground burned inside his body. It was even more excruciating than normal fires, and only those with the strongest wills could change the entire body's meridian points to golden crystal. The guard in the sealed room would often hear anguished wails that were painful to hear. Even deep in the night, there were moans akin to wild beasts. All of this was Wu Yu burning the 100 meridian points on his body. Day after day passed, and the sealed room often shone with firelight. After 130 days, Wu Yu finally managed to break open all the meridian points in his body. It was the first time he had achieved the opening meridian's tier. At that moment, there were hundreds of meridian points all over his body, which shone like the sun in the darkness. They were dense and, although small, shone intensively. The entire steel room glowed red from the heart. Especially those eyes. On his back, the Salvastika symbol became even more scorched. In the dimness, he howled like a trapped monkey. He clenched his fists, and the prison shook. Wu Yu talked to himself, saying, "This invincible Vajra body has flamed my heart. In my imagination, I am actually an enraged ape, beating down everything in my way." For any normal practitioner, they would have a strength of 100 warhorses at the 6th tier of the body refining realm, but Wu Yu had far surpassed them and possessed strength equal to 800 warhorses. Now even 8th tier body refining realm is no match for him. At his present level, it was impossible not to get excited given his age. But as he thought of Sita Minglang, who had achieved spirit ascension, and heavenly immortal Hao Tian from capital Wu, he began to calm down. He knew that there was still a long way to go. Wu Yu shifted his focus toward invincible Vajra's body's 7th tier, visualizing the inner ape. The 7th tier of the mortal body refining is spirit congealing. It allows one's soul to grow, and unifies the heart and mind. It completely manipulated one's body to elevate battle power. Wu Yu was not prepared to rest. At this point, Wu Yu realized that invincible Vajra body was indeed connected to a monkey. He follows the inner ape that the invincible Vajra body described. Through his own sketches and imagination, he created the form of a monkey in his mind. As he imagined the ape, some dominating, disdainful words pierced through the mental world of Wu Yu. The words were, "I am the heavenly domain's great sage, fated one, accept my legacy, and defy the heavens and destroy all that stand in your way." These words battered him savagely. At the same time, the inner ape began to materialize in his heart. Wu Yu's spirit completely suppressed this inner ape. Just thinking about it made his head ache to the point it felt like splitting. Clearly, this level of soul master could not endure it. He had to visualize it again and again, train and form his spirit. The elder guarding the sealed room again heard the painful cry of Wu Yu, which would not cease. He thought to himself, "This Wu Yu is a real lunatic. Cultivate if you want, but must you weep and howl like a demon?" In an instant, more than 200 days had passed. At this time, the inner ape had already been fully formed. Although one could not see it or feel it, in Wu Yu's heart, his soul had already taken on the form of the inner ape. For ordinary people who reach the 7th tier of the body refining realm have the strength of 500 warhorses, but Wu Yu can bring out the strength of 1,500 warhorses. Normally one has about 1,000 warhorses worth of power at the 9th tier, and the Martial Way's 10th tier has 2,000 warhorses worth of power. That means Wu Yu is now roughly equal to Sita Minglang. While in the capital Wu, Wu Yu had a goal to reach the 10th tier of the Martial Way, to have 2,000 warhorses worth of power. Who would have thought that in a year, he had achieved it all? And just like that, a year of sealing passed. On the day that the doors of the sealed room were opened, it was the first time in a year that Wu Yu basked in the sunshine. There was an otherworldly feel to it. In the sky, the clouds rolled on lazily. The fairy mist drifted slowly, with a breeze sweeping and rustling the leaves in the immortal forest. All of this caught Wu Yu's eyes immediately. Just as he walked out, he saw Su Yanli. Wu Yu had not thought that she would find time amidst her busy schedule to wait and receive him. In his heart, he was happy and surprised. Coming down from her crane, Su Yanli gave a smile as she congratulated Wu Yu for finishing his punishment. In the air, she pressed a golden-edged secret manual into Wu Yu's hands, saying, "This is a supreme-grade martial art that sect master has given you. You can practice it when you have time. It has similarities to the swordwork you used previously but is much stronger." Wu Yu was overjoyed. Presently, Whale's slaying sword of the eastern seas was already insufficient for him to evoke his power. He was exactly lacking in a technique, and he had not expected Feng Shuya to already foresee that. The manual contains a technique called Golden Inferno Dragon Slayer Art. The 5 large words were emblazoned on the manual, encircled by a mystical dragon. Wu Yu was excited about getting the technique. He quickly thanked Su Yanli and asked her to thank Sect Master for him. Su Yanli gave over the sword manual and while turning away told Wu Yu, "I look forward to the day you become my junior brother." She rode her immortal crane and advised Wu Yu to practice hard to counter Situ Minglang in the future, as he had already reached spirit condensing realm. As she rode her immortal crane away, her figure, alluring as an immortal in a picture, vanished in the clouds. Wu Yu decided to seclude himself from harsh training to master this technique to counter the future challenges he will be facing. But Wu Yu did not care, nor was he afraid. Later, he rode his immortal crane, flying over the Baipo mountain range until he reached Yanli Mountain. He stopped in front of Sun Wudao's grave, to spend some time with Wudao. The crescent moon's dim light filtered down. There was a ghostly feel all around. Wu Yu stood up and took out the Golden Inferno Slayer art that Su Yanli had given him and seriously began to train it. This way, Sun Wudao could personally see his progress. Whale's slaying sword is only a middle-grade art. Its moves are simple and shallow. It is not enough to handle my power. And this Golden Inferno Dragon Slayer art is a more powerful, supreme-grade martial art. Bearing this in mind, he began to study even more seriously. Briefly pursuing it, he discovered that it was a very good fit for him. Wu Yu was engrossed in this martial art. As he was deeply engrossed in the learning, he forgot where he was. He realized that it was the perfect complement for his invincible Vajra body. The more he read and trained, the more shaken Wu Yu was. He was more and more immersed. Being paired with a martial art that seemed to be made for his existence, his cultivation and mastery rate were uncommonly quick. Back in the capital Wu Yu had to spend a year learning Whale's slaying sword. But now in just a night, there were already results. After reaching some attainment in Golden Inferno Dragon Slayer art, he stowed away and saw a young woman in green coming towards him. It was Qing Meng. After not meeting for a year, she had blossomed beautifully. She stood in front of Wu Yu, happy and indignant, saying, "When we were first initiated, you promised to be my friend. And in the blink of an eye, you were imprisoned for a year, abandoning me. I wanted the opportunity to defeat you, but I could not find you." Wu Yu grimaced, saying, "This is unprecedented. I don't want it." At this moment, some disciples came along. Qing Meng stared at Wu Yu. They had heard that Qing Meng wanted to challenge Wu Yu, and they had gathered to watch the commotion. Qing Meng suddenly unsheathed her longsword, staring at him with big eyes and telling him, "You must not run today. You must exchange some blows with me." Wu Yu replied, "It's not good to pull swords when we just met, right? Many people make little fu. You are someone who beat me before, how could you be taken lightly?" Qing Meng was worked up. As she said this, she immediately moved. Wu Yu understood why she was in such a hurry. She was not trying to better herself, but trying to get his back for him. She wanted to show his true ability so that those who mocked him would get a good look. Wu Yu took his stance to exchange blows with her. Qing Meng charged forward with her sword in her right hand. Many of the nearby disciples favored the younger Qing Meng, so they started mumbling that Wu Yu lose to her. The news of Wu Yu's release had spread through the Heavenly Sword sect like wildfire. As Qing Meng charged at Wu Yu, she felt a killing intent alerted at Wu Yu, who had been engrossed in fighting. As she noticed, a girl with a covered face charged at Wu Yu from behind his back, with the intention of killing him. Qing Meng instantly charged forward to block her sword strike from reaching Wu Yu. While in the scuffle, Wu Yu also noticed the assassin girl and jumped to a side. The assassin girl again attacked Qing Meng with a critical strike, dealing a heavy blow, which led to Qing Meng being thrown back in the air. Qing Meng also lost grip of her sword, which led to her being defenseless. The assassin girl did not wait for more and instantly rushed forward to finish Qing Meng, who blocked her from killing Wu Yu. Her sword was covered with a frost aura as charged at Qing Meng. The disciples that followed Qing Meng to witness the fight between Wu Yu and her were terrified to the depths of their souls. As the woman reached Qing Meng, in the midst of chaos, Wu Yu instantly interfered, blocking her strike. Both of their swords clashed, their energy colliding with each other. The sword strike was too heavy for Wu Yu to bear, resulting in Wu Yu being pushed back 10 meters. After countering her strike, Wu Yu realized the assassin was extremely strong compared to him. She laughed at Wu Yu to be able to counter her attack. Before assassinating him, she thought it would be easy to kill a servant, who just became an external disciple a year ago. She also intended to steal the spirit-condensing pill after killing Wu Yu, to condense her qi. The disciples besides Qing Meng were amazed by witnessing the strength displayed by Wu Yu. Their eyes were wide open. Before they had been much gossip revolving around that Wu Yu must have used some cheap tricks to win on the immortal promotion platform and someone must have helped him to kill the 5 strong external disciples. But now they were clear about the reality. Wu Yu blocked the assassin's path and told Qing Meng to leave here quickly, as he intended to tackle her alone. Qing Meng knew that both of them were not a match for the assassin girl as she had reached the 10th tier of the body refining realm, so she decided to look for Su Yanli to help Wu Yu out of this critical situation. The assassin's face was masked in black cloth. From the features, one could tell that she was a real beauty. Wu Yu spoke up. I thought Situ Minglang would come personally. But he sent you. Although Wu Yu was slightly entranced, he held fast. He knew that the more seductive these beauties were, the more fatal they were. The assassin said, you only have 10 breaths of time left before you die and you trying to save others in this situation. In the woman's hand was a black short sword. Wu Yu could sense from her aura and stance that she far surpassed him in power. Just as she spoke, she immediately attacked. The black short sword was like a viper's tongue in the black night. Each move was a cold and cruel hiss of death. This girl was a natural-born killer, specializing in speed and deadliness. The leaves blew wildly around. In the air, a beam of black energy sped over, reaching Wu Yu in an instant. It was a fatal attack. His sword swept out to connect with the opponent's short sword, but that prodigious power knocked Wu Yu back. He crashed heavily into a tree and rolled to the floor, covered in dust that looked bleak. In the black night, the woman's attacks came again and again, flashing out ceaselessly. They were polished and deadly attacks. This was indeed a difficult challenge for Wu Yu. He cannot let this suppression continue, otherwise it would be fatal for him. Wu Yu dodged a few times consecutively. It was very risky. The opponent was cold-blooded and frightening. These few times, Wu Yu's eyes and throat had barely avoided being pierced. Under such an onslaught, he was hard-pressed to bring forth many of his moves. After 3 more breaths, the opponent was very arrogant. That cold voice seemed to come at him from all directions. At this moment, her speed quickened, until he could not ascertain where she was. If this continued, he would be dead without a doubt. In his mental world, he sought the inner ape. That dominating monkey king sat firmly in the center of his mind, stabilizing it. When his energy welled until a maximum and actually began to compromise the opponent's attack, Wu Yu attacked. He had not acted until now, but the moment he did, he used the Golden Inferno Dragon Slayer art that he had just spent half the day practicing. Although it was just the first move, this was still the sword skill that Feng Shuya personally created. The demon banishing blade swept out. Scorching, golden flames raged intensely, piercing the darkness with just one slash. It swept out horizontally, just as the woman leaped in for the kill. Wu Yu's mind and body were one. The black short sword in the woman's hand had actually been sent flying by Wu Yu. She had been too confident, which was why such a mistake had happened. At this moment, she could only retreat. Her lithe body weaved and ducked through Wu Yu's slashes. The golden longsword flashed out, sending flames to illuminate the dark night. While the opponent was reeling from the surprise, Wu Yu found his chance. The opponent shrieked and tumbled on the floor. In truth, Wu Yu could have cleaved her apart, but thinking carefully, she had to be a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect. It would be trouble no matter what. Therefore, he had turned his blade at the last moment, using the blade to score the enemy. Get out. Next time, ask Situ Minglang to come himself. Wu Yu aggressively told her with blazing eyes. Wu Yu only thought to continue practicing the sword. The girl bit her lip, with her eyes large. She was not satisfied, but she was unable to continue fighting. She crawled to her feet and retrieved her sword. She threw him a reproachful glance, saying resentfully, "How cruel of an attack! Do you not know how to cherish beauty with a soft hand? Get out, Wu Yu stared at her. After defeating her, she was now pouty, with a more seductive look in her eyes. At this time, she turned away to leave, but her hand was retrieving a golden talisman out of his sight. The girl laughed loudly, turning back. She tore the golden flame talisman and hurled it at Wu Yu. Although it was a paper talisman, it flew like a secret weapon, exploding in front of Wu Yu's eyes. After the golden flame talisman exploded, a golden fireball the size of a palm blossomed. In that instant, it smashed into Wu Yu's body. The surging flames coated Wu Yu's entire body. It incinerated his entire body, including his clothes. He was completely burnt in an instant. The girl's expression had changed. She was extremely pleased, screeching with laughter at the side. She had personally witnessed Wu Yu devoured by the flames. She could not be bothered to watch more. In her mind's eye, he was already ash. There was nothing more to see. She turned to leave while saying, "To have insulted Sitaming Lang, you deserve this fate. The golden flame talisman is such a precious object, and it was wasted on you." Suddenly the flame shot up and the area was lit with brilliant firelight. Then the fire disappeared too quickly. That was strange. The girl was shocked. She turned back to see a completely unharmed Wu Yu. He lifted his hands with power and aggressiveness that were more intimidating than before, with a raging fire in his eyes. The girl had witnessed the most illogical thing in the world. But she did not have much time to be surprised. A bolt of golden light flashed past. The iron-like fingers were locked in a death grip around her throat, lifting her body. The tender skin and flesh of her throat were scorched black in an instant. She had not at all expected to die. But now her life was within Wu Yu's hands. At such a moment, she thought quickly. She used all her strength not to struggle, but to tear off her own clothes. She said as loudly as she could, "Wu Why, from now on I am yours, do as you please with me, but don't kill me." Wu Yu stared at her aggressively, and in a moment snapped her neck and threw her on the ground. The fire from the talisman had helped Wu Yu to reach Invincible Vajra Body's 8th tier, Agile Rock Body. Now he has reached the 8th tier of the body refining realm. He could feel the colossal power in his body. Now he have power worth 3,000 war horses. His heart was at peace. As the body of the girl burned down, Su Yanli came down from her immortal crane to help Wu Yu. She spoke to Wu Yu saying, "You really went through body rebirth. Although you are older than Sitaming Lang, your progress this year is many times that of his." Wu Yu was still not clear, as after condensing one's qi, how much stronger would one be? So he asked Su Yanli if he can defeat Sitaming Lang in his current form. Su Yanli shook her head saying, "Using warhorses as a gauge of power is the currency in the martial world. After condensing one's qi, one has entered immortal Tao and cannot go by the same measure anymore." However, Sitaming Lang had only condensed his qi. If you really wanted to count, he would have around 5,000 warhorses worth of power. Wu Yu thought to himself, "Seems like I have to ascend one more tier to be his opponent." Su Yanli further explained to Wu Yu, "The current matter related to the assassin has passed, and no one will pursue it. But Sitaming Lang had not come to find you so far not because he has forgotten his grudge, but because he is preparing to contest for the Immortal Kingdom's supervisor. After he succeeds, you will be in danger." The title of Immortal Kingdom's supervisor caught Wu Yu's interest. Wu Yu pursued the issue, and Su Yanli briefly described the role of the supervisor, as well as rewards. Su Yanli further explained to be an immortal protector of the mortal kingdoms is probably the only chance to go out of the sect. This news was a bomb on Wu Yu. He thought to himself, Immortal Hao Tian must be an immortal supervisor who had served a bit longer. Wu Yu hurriedly asked Senior Sister Su, "I would like to ask. Is the Dong Yuwu kingdom among these nations?" Su Yanli explained that including Dong Uwu kingdom, a total of 6 countries belong to Heavenly Sword sect's purview in this decade as per the contract. To Wu Yu, this was too important. This meant that Heavenly Immortal Hao Tian would soon return to his sect, and he could only meet him if he become an immortal protector of the Wu kingdom. He hurriedly said, "Senior Sister Su, I want to become Wu kingdom's supervisor." Su Yanli immediately shook her head and said, "Unfortunately, I believe that it is not possible. According to the rules, only those who have condensed their qi and are core disciples can become Immortal Kingdom's supervisor. Wu Yu was not concerned with these rules. He quickly explained his situation about being a crown prince, and then asked again. Wu Yu knew that by relying on Su Yanli's connection, this task could be completed easily. Seeing how firm Wu Yu was about this and coupled with his immense animosity and desire for revenge, she replied. The first point is Sita Ming Lang will also be part of the selection. If he were to learn that you were participating, he would use his connections to ensure that you will fight him. The second point is if you do become a supervisor when you arrive at the Wu Kingdom, the Zhongyuan Dao sex representative will definitely provoke you. Su Yanli had already explained the pros and cons of his decision, and wanted him to make his decision carefully. However, regardless of the difficulties with his decision, returning to the Wu Kingdom was his dream. Wu Yu loudly said, I have thought about it, and I will bear the consequences of my decision. Wu Yu's eyes blazed with a raging flame. That's all for today. If you like the next part of this manhwa, just comment below. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment to get epic content on this channel. See you next time.